Hello everyone, so in this video I'm going to be showing you how to set up and maintain a worm farm. So my worm farm, i.e. Vermicompost, is already a working compost with worms in it, but I will go through how to set up and have a look at our worms and collect some castings. So I have the Canna Worms composting system. It has two tiers, 1, 2, and then in here is where it collects all the worm tea, i.e. the worm urine, which is just in that bucket collecting. I've started draining. In this system it comes with a ventilated lid. This is all from Bunnings. It cost around $65 to $70. I'm not quite sure. It was a little while ago when I got it, a few months. And then when you open it up, I purchased separately the tumbleweed, the control mat, I guess, for the heating and the cooling and just keeping moisture in. And then also the worm farm and compost conditioner, which you give them once a week, just to help maintain the pH of the soil. So when you lift this back, this is my working worm farm / compost. As you can see, there is some seeds growing in it because it gets quite warm and humid, so it's perfect for things to grow. When that happens, it's free food for the worms. So depending on how many people are in your household, they say to have a compost that is going to be really quick turnaround, to have about 1,000 worms per person. I only got 1,000 worm eggs and put them in here. Quite a lot of them are large now. I've only had mine for a few months. So I only feed them as required when you don't see any more food in here, including the cardboard that you can see in this shot. Otherwise, the food will go moldy and they can't eat through it quick enough. So if you were to set up this worm farm, you would have an empty tray like this. If you're buying this particular worm compost, it comes with outside cardboard, which they suggest you lay on the bottom first. It's completely safe for the worms. So you would do that. You would add some shredded in paper, newspaper if you can, some cardboard for them, a little bit, not much because you've already got that cardboard base. And then what you would do is use some coconut fiber. As you can see here, this is coconut fiber, just from Bunnings, really inexpensive. It comes in a hard block and you just wet it and it expands. So you just start off with that, put your worm eggs in and off you go. You don't feed them for the first month or so as they're hatching, growing and eating through all that cardboard. When it comes time to feed them, so that they work from one side to the other, you put the food in a mound, cover it up, leave it there. Next time you feed them, you'd put it on the other side. I've not long fed these guys, and then there's all these as well, all the seeds growing from the capsicum that was put in there. So I don't need to feed these guys, but as you can see, I've got some little worms there that aren't so little anymore. This big fella just here, and he was an egg. So you just got to be careful because they can be right on top of the surface. What I'll do is I'll show you how to collect some castings and then how to water them down and give them their conditioner once a week, it's suggested. So what I do, just look for castings, is this is the top layer, so I'm finding that there's not very much in my top layer. So I'll remove that and I'll come back. Okay, so I've removed my top layer and this is my bottom layer. As you can see, it is very dark and dense and rich and full of lots and lots of worms. So this is where the castings are. This is at the bottom of the tray. So what I like to do is, I've got my glove on, you can use just your hand. I go through and I loosen it up just with my hand, very, very, very gently, because I don't want to damage any of the worms or hurt them, disrupt them too much. and I just loosen that up. And by loosening that up, I can really get a good feel of how much castings is in there, because it's very crumbly. So I don't know if you can see that. It's very, very crumbly. And yes, there's worms all through this, so you've got to be very gentle. Some people are rough. I like to think that they're technically still my pets. And then what I do is I just have my compost bin here that I'm just going to fill up, and I just go through it, make sure there's no worms. And then that little thing there is actually an egg, so you want to make sure that that is put back, and then you just fill up your container. Okay, so I've collected my castings from this tray here. I've only got a little amount because that's all I need for my garden today. And I just wanted to show you what a worm egg looks like. Now, it's a little yellow fluid filled sack. And if you have a happy compost, you'll have plenty of these. So I've just come across quite a few of these whilst I'm digging for my worm castings. There's one there. There's another one just in there. There's quite a few of them spread around the place. That's a very good sign. That means your worms are breeding and they are happy. Next step to do after you've collected some of your castings would be to replace that top layer back on. If you've only got one layer for now, that's completely fine. That's good. You don't have too much work to do. Pop that top layer on and then grab the hose and do a flush. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so I've got my hose now, and you just go through it and give it a really, really good wet. So wet it down really, really well, especially in rural New South Wales where I am. We've had some quite intense heat, and now it's starting to cool down. So I'll just give that a really good wet down, and then I've got the valve open so it can free drain into my bin here. Container I've got for all the worm tea, it's called. All the worm urine and juices from them breaking down all the food. They say do about a 10 litre flush. I just give it a really, really, really good soak until it starts to come out of the spout down the bottom. And because what we've done is stirred up all that the castings in the second layer, it'll help really just wash it through and give us some really, really good composting liquid to put on our garden. Because it is so strongly concentrated, you only want to use it in a watering can with, water, like 1 part composting liquid to 3 parts water. So I've given that a really good wet down now. It's starting to freely drain into my tub, as you can see down there. So I won't need to water that anymore. What I'll do now is I put this back on top there. Hose it lightly just to dampen it, because that helps retain the moisture. And then put our lid back on. And then what that does, make sure it's completely locked in. What that does is keeps any bugs, any flies, any nasties. Where I am, I don't have any place that has like shade for the worms. I've already given them their worm farm compost conditioner and watered that in. But as I was saying, I don't have anywhere to put them that's out of the wind. So what I do is I have a tarp that I put over top of them to keep them out of direct sunlight, because that will fry the worms. And then that way the worms stay happy and healthy until I need them. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye.